Let's go ahead and come back together. I wasn't able to hear some of the water cooler conversations that were happening during the break. So I wanna, is there anything that you wanna share out, things that you were thinking about, things that you were discussing during the break about this whole OER thing?
Talk about the LibreText sustainability of the platform.
Sure. So LibreText, gosh, what year? 2007? Came out of a grant from the Department of Ed, a $5 million grant to create this. A man by the name of Delmar Lawson, who is a Kim professor at UC Davis, created this whole platform. And it is his vision that this would always be no cost to anyone and everyone. And so he is constantly looking for grants to keep it sustainable, which is huge. That is what he wants this platform to always be. So it is the world's largest platform of OERs, the world's largest, and it's so funny because he is the most down-to-earth man you'd ever meet. You know, I talked to him, I'm like, do you realize what you have created? And so the platform's not going anywhere. If sustainability is what you're wondering about, he's already decided he will keep it the way that it is, open, free, accessible to everyone, and that is his vision. Right. Other questions, concerns? Yes, Mia?
One of the things when we were talking about how students often use mobile devices and there's still a major digital divide between students, is that making sure and advocating for OER resources to be accessible on mobile devices, right? So making sure that all the content that's created, I don't know if this platform is highly accessible on mobile devices for all kinds, but it's definitely a conversation that we should be having with the people that are creating OERs across campus. So the videos play on your smartphone, yes, the PDFs be read on a smaller screen, and it was just something
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree because I didn't realize what wasn't accessible to my students on a cell phone. And I thought, wait a minute, we're missing something here because some of them do not have computers. Their phone is their computer. And so why are they limited? Who is in charge of that? Sometimes it's so funny because my provost has figured out that I like to get things done. And so every time I turn around, every week, I've got something else to do. It's like I'm afraid to say anything because now I'm going to be in charge of that one. And I'm like, who is the technology person at the college who is supposed to be on this? But yeah, I agree. It's those where we see these holes, we've got to start to fill them. We've got to find the people that are supposed to be responsible and hold them accountable that, wait a minute, did you realize that this is happening? You need to fix this. And I say it in the most polite way because really I have no authority, but I want them to know we found a hole and we need to fill this. I love it. Thank you. And this hole is just, it's about thinking. Let's think about things. Bruce said it. We should constantly be reflecting on our practice and what we're doing and seeing the holes that we're missing and starting to fill those in. And that's a constant thing. I don't know about you, I don't know about your college, but OMG, do we have meetings on top of meetings on top of meetings? I mean, I'm like, am I going from meeting to meeting? And now that we have Zoom, you can unfortunately go. You don't even have that walking space that you used to have before because you could walk across campus to your next meeting, and if you were 10 minutes late, everybody understood because you had to walk across campus. Now you've got to click from 9, then 10, then 11, then 12, then 1, then 2, then 3. I mean, till 5 o'clock you can be on meetings, which is absolutely insane. And I am like, we have got to get better at what meetings are truly necessary, which ones are only for a short period of time, like an ad hoc committee. I have one right now. I'm like, I started it by saying, y'all are an ad hoc committee. We are going to, in 4 months, get this done. We are closing down this meeting, and we are moving it on. Because I do not have I don't want to see your faces all the time. You know? But I'm like, are all of these meetings truly necessary forever and in perpetuity? What is that word? Forever and ever and ever? I'm going to meet with you? No, let's get done what we need to get done. And then, yes, let's set it in the schedule for maybe a 3-month review that we come back together and let's talk about this. We're good to go. We all know where we are marching, or okay, let's 3 months, let's come back together, and let's clear up these calendars. Because how do we get stuff done? Because I don't know about you, I'm sure it's the same with you, but I go home and then I do all the paperwork, all the emails, all the stuff that I need to get done. I spend freaking every Saturday doing 8 hours of work. I don't love y'all this much, you know? I mean, can we figure this out so that I get my life back? And so, that was quite the little diatribe there. Okay. But I totally agree. We got to figure some things out. Great. I love it. What else are you thinking about? Lucia's already told me data collection is her jam, so I can't tarry that much longer before we get into it. Awesome. Okay, great. We're good to go. So, well, I might have Lucia saying some stuff here because I feel like, Michael, as we were even during the break, I feel like we've shared about our data collection, but we can talk about it again. We can talk about the areas where we think we're falling short in our data collection and what, as we are looking at it, what we see we need to do better, what we've collected as data, and what you guys think, what have you been collecting as data, and then what are you doing with that data as well? That is a huge piece. You've got to do something with the data. So what happened? Can you move the cursor from your email that you are working on? And why is it not working?
Try it again.
There we go. Thank you, sir.
Dr. Bowles.
So we're just going to talk about what is data collection. Why do we do this? We do it for several reasons: to inform, to inspire, to motivate, and we need some documentation. And we'll talk about the types of data that we have collected, and then as we've been on our journey, some things that we've seen that we're missing. And we're like, we've got to go back and try to collect some of this data. So you've seen this one before. We collected information on our courses. What courses are Z courses already? What courses are not Z courses? You can pull up this data. That's an interesting question. I can pull up this data. And even while I'm talking, I'm thinking about what is our process? Where would I make this more accessible to everyone and anyone at the college? Because it's not a secret. It's just I haven't thought to put it somewhere else. But I feel like anybody should be able to pull up this data at any time and say, where is my department? Where is my division? Where is this? So get me thinking. Can you make a note? I can't write. On my, just make a note somewhere that I come back to that. So we do have this data, and we talked about the fact that we use it consistently to inform the college community that we used to. We were at meetings on top of meetings telling about, oh, this is what we've done, and this is what we've done, and this is what we've done. And now, as I'm even thinking, as we move forward, we need to figure out a place where we can house this so in real time, or that anybody in the faculty, the department, they can jump on and they can see where we are with our data and the holes. I can't be the only one who's identifying them. We use it to inspire. We used to, again, this was like our end at every meeting. We'd be like, and here's where we are. It's yay, us, you know. You got to get that motivation going because, yes, there is a work that needs to be done. It is work. We're not saying it's not, but we've got to inspire them to keep going with this. And so we'd get up and we'd say, okay, here are our numbers here. And everybody would start to see our numbers grow. And here are our numbers here. This was actually semester or term by term or year by year. And then we started doing it cumulatively. So then we got to this one, where we started adding everything together, and now that's the way that we're going to move forward. We weren't doing it before. We were doing it year by year, and then all of a sudden we were like, why are we doing it year by year? What happened was one year our numbers dropped, and I was like, we cannot show that. That one year we had 1.4 million, and the next year we had 1.2 million, so I was like, oh, we got to start doing it cumulatively here now. So something to think about as far as your data collection. And the kind of data that we have collected, we've collected enrollment numbers, like what students are in the Z courses versus the non-Z courses. We've collected data regarding the section and the course level. Obviously, we've collected the data on the savings, and we've collected data on the grades comparison. So that is some of the data that we have collected. I don't know what you're thinking about as far as data collection, but that's where we began.
Except for the grades.
Okay.
And we have Troy Share has offered for
Awesome.
We could get the data for the grade, right? I haven't.
I know you have it,
Oh.
but for me to tell you.
What would also be interesting to know is what
And
the
then
grade
having
in
the
the subsequent
faculty
courses.
agree.
Like if they're taking Chem 1 on the, how they do in the next course compared to before.
That's a good one. Can you, Michael, can you, sorry.
That's hard data to get though.
Is it, okay.
Although
It's gonna be pretty, it'll probably be pretty straightforward, but I would probably end up pulling from my faculty the course satisfaction, because we do student satisfaction ratings at the end, and be curious to see if there was a difference.
Definitely. I see, make note of that. And I don't know that we do an OER survey or a Z-course survey. It's not specific. It's a course survey, but I don't even think it mentions OER. So
Correct.
for us, I'm seeing a
It
whole.
doesn't for us either, but one of the things that would come out of that is, they are looking at the course and they're looking at the resources involved when they evaluate the course.
Okay.
And if your resources are OER versus publisher,
Right.
you can actually look at it one of two ways. Are we seeing similar ratings, which is what you want, since you're sitting back and saying publishers have all the money in the world to create this, and we're making our own,
Right.
and we're having the same. Or you may actually see more satisfaction for the fact that they didn't have to pay for it.
That'd be interesting. I'd love to see that. So do you have a department that would collect or do that for you? Because we just put in a request to our research and assessment department, and they do that evaluation for us. Do you guys have one?
We have, as deans, we have access to.
Okay. Awesome.
we also have a focus group, work group here. And so, if we wanted to have them run focus groups on students who were in sections that had these versus students who were not, or whatever.
Yes.
We could get qualitative data in that way.
That's on our list, but we haven't gotten there yet. I love that you have. Who is in charge of that? Don't say
Her
Penny.
name-
Don't say Penny.
Her name is Lynn Odell.
And she's in charge of.
She's the chair of that work group.
What is, that's her full-time,
No.
she has no other title, what is
Oh,
her?
no, she is our STEM pioneer.
Oh, great, so it's a faculty member that's doing it? It's
She's staff.
Staff?
Yeah.
Okay, staff.
But there are faculty on that work. It's a
Yeah.
work group across the college, so it has faculty, staff.
I love that.
A lot of that faculty.
Okay. So this would be new, you haven't done a focus group with, around OER yet, you're just,
No,
No.
it actually is being planned for the spring semester.
awesome.
We're talking about focus groups for math OER, right? They did one set of focus groups, because I'm on the work group too, that was for Taylor's platform versus the paid math platform. This was a couple years ago. though.
Oh, yeah, they did that.
Yeah, she's doing enough of.
I can't remember. I think I was the recorder, so I was just very much making sure everything was written down.
Sure, great. Love it. And so some of the holes that we've seen, or just areas of growth for us, program data. As we continue to grow our OER implementation, we want to start to see what kind of data we can collect on that. Like what programs do we have as OERs? Again, how are those students doing in those specific programs? I think we're having, well, maybe this is Ray again, having a challenge tracking students specifically. I don't know if it's a data issue or them, it's a difficulty issue, but that's something I would like to see. I would really like to look at students who take OERs and what their trajectory looks like. If we could tease that information out there. The percentage of OERs. In the beginning, we were doing a lot of numbers, which was fine because our numbers weren't, they're low. We need the B&E to see, you got one up there. But now we're moving to percentages. So the provost wants to see in 2019, what were the percentage of courses that we had as OERs? And then in 2020, what were they? In 2021, I got that data yesterday and it looks great. Like I'm excited to put it in a chart because I'm like, do. It's steady climbing. And that's another thing, documentation. Like, it's all out there somewhere, but it's not in one place. Like, it's not a document that I could like give to our board of trustees and be like, bam, here's what we're doing. So that's something that I need to get better on. Michael's like, you realize that's you. I'm like, shut up. But yeah, I would love to have this amazing document that just shows the impact of the OER implementation at Prince George's Community College. Man, I'm gonna get a consultant to do that. I mean, but we need that because that is just great documentation, I think, and it proves the point of what we're doing. So those are just some areas that I'm thinking of at PGCC that we need to work on as far as data collection and what we need to do. So I guess the question is for you, well, what are you doing now as far as data collection, and what do you see the holes, or where's the moving forward? What do you think you need to do next? And then another big thing, which we talked about a little bit already, what are you doing with that data? Even I see the whole, like, oops, I'm holding some data that I probably should be sharing with each division, each department, each dean, each chair. Communication is huge. I'm telling you, those numbers we put up have made a difference. So what data are you already collecting? What data do you think needs to be collected next? And then what are you doing? What are you going to do with the data? And you know what, for a minute, I think, Alexis, can you speak to what is being collected right now? And then I'm going to put you into groups to think about what other data do you think needs to be collected. So start us off, Alexis.
So since 2016, 17, I've been getting the lists of all the courses that have, and there's a problem with the recording here that we're trying to fix with building in the bookstore, okay? No text required or an OER. So someone has made an actual move to change their requirements to adopt an OER to replace the publisher paid for thing, right? So courses identified through the bookstore when you send in your adoption sheets for your textbooks get sent to the library, and I go in and look up the enrollment. I have access to that, and I put in the number of students that are enrolled in each course after each semester. So all that data has been collected since 2017 is in Excel sheets. We have breakdowns of numbers. We have percentages of departments. We know where we're lacking in creating a full zero textbook cost degree program, where healthcare management and criminal justice are almost there, but they need the English and the biology and all these other things. And I'm saying zero cost because we mentioned ENC 1101 as being OER. It's not OER. It's $25.
Well, no, there's a difference. OER and zero cost are two different things.
Yes. So I'm talking zero cost, okay? It's not zero cost, it's low
No, it's not
cost.
zero.
It's low cost. So when we have that indicator, it would be indicated as low cost if that meets the threshold of what a 3-credit course would be considered low cost for our students. That is a conversation the state has not had yet. They have defined what a zero textbook cost indicator is, and that's what we're basing our indicator on. Okay, so going back and getting the data from courses from people that have moved away, and I don't know if they made the move on purpose. There's a lot in the theater program that are using no-cost materials, but I don't know if they ever had a textbook. And now data book's gone, so it's hard to get that data back. I don't know. Okay, and then the recording of it, we're working closely with Dylan, so he sends out the adoption sheet. The people who are filling that in should know to indicate OER or no textbook required in the case that they just never had a textbook. There was never a textbook, so they didn't make a move to make a savings for our students. We're estimating the savings based on SPARK, which is a national organization that tracks this information, and they came up with the average of $100 per 3-credit course is what the savings are for our students. So that's what we're doing now. It doesn't mean it can't be changed or fleshed out, but all of this work was done basically by me. So I have done all of this. It's not easy. It's difficult to know when someone switches back to using a text, like when Zachary Cooper left. It got switched back to a textbook when they were OER. for
Actually,
outdoor
Daphne
classes.
is the one who switched that.
I know, and she left and switched it, and that's just driving me nuts. Because she's not here anymore, and we're making them pay, and, you know? So I don't know that it switched until I look at the textbook list from Dylan and see, oh my gosh, that has a cost associated with it now. So it's hard to do, it's a lot of work. If there were indicators and they were accurate in Workday, it would be a great help to be able to sort the data that way, rather than have to go individually through the course. There's a lot of courses that are OER or no text required that I question what, if we should call it that, like apprenticeships and, things like that. So a lot of stuff in the, what do you call it? The career ready programs, workforce, yeah. Those programs that I'm not sure. So it's a lot of conversations that haven't been had with a lot of people that are involved in maybe making these numbers more accurate.
Right, that's my question for you. I noticed that a lot of the classes that you list up there are core classes. Do you have a lot of specialties that you use OER too?
Not as many as our core, because that was where we focused. We considered that the low-hanging fruit of our gen ed, because they're also high enrollment courses, so that was really our focus. We have some others that are coming along, but we haven't focused on them. And now our focus is going more to certificates and degrees. So that's going to be our focus.
And we've had a couple departments that have really, picked up on their development. So the education department that Deborah works in, the business department, the technology department. So they're even though they're not gen eds, there's been some departments that have really said, we want to make this a priority.
And I just want to speak a little bit to what Alexis was saying as far as the collection of the data. Oh my gosh, that's what Michael was doing in the beginning as to how we had to collect the data. And it is a tedious little process. And I was like, oh, we cannot keep doing it this way, because if you think I'm searching through all these courses so we had to work with the Ray department to figure out a better way to collect this data. I have meetings, I've got to work with the department chairs to figure out their process to make sure we get this right in the data collection, because I cannot keep going back and doing that tedious work. I'm like, this is too much for one person to be in charge of all of this data for the college and see these holes. I mean, I think it happened maybe a month ago. I was on the site looking at courses, and I saw sections on top of sections that I knew were zero cost, and they were not identified in the system, and I just about lost it. I was like, you are messing up all of our data. And so I had to go back to the chair, and we had to talk about the process. The process is, it should be, you got to do this, because it affects the data. So it really is that communication. We've got to make sure we're all on the same page, we're all doing that same thing, and then there does, unfortunately, falls to somebody to be checking it and to make sure that we're getting it right. So a lot of data is already being collected at the college, which is awesome. We've only got a few minutes left, so it's probably not a group work thing. And did I hit data, or do you have other questions about data that we? Okay, good. So is there anything that you think here at the college as far as data collection that you would like to see moving forward, or you think you're on a good path right now? Or too early to tell? Sure.
We could find ways to automate that.
Yes.
Like Alexa said, we're working with the bookstore. We're trying to figure out the best way to clearly indicate which books are OER, zero cost, low cost, and make that so it's not manual thing. Our relationship with the bookstore is actually pretty good right now, so we're trying to figure out how to make that work a lot better for everyone involved. So there's not as much hands-on work that Alexa has to do with it.
Yes.
That's a question in the back.
Sure. Sorry, what?
I think something else that would be beneficial institutionally for us too is making this data more readily available. providing it in a location that's easy to find. Because I know a lot of times, like when I'm looking for data, it's things that other people or departments may have already pulled, and it's, like talking about OER and using LibreText, reinventing the wheel. I think a lot of times we do that with data too, and it would be beneficial to have like a central repository for that.
Yes, I agree. We need one too. We're not there either, yes. So,
And I said it earlier, this is a journey. As the more you're on it, the better it gets. Hopefully you see some things that could be done better. You see things that you would like to change, add, develop. We're not there. We are certainly not there. There's still things that every time I look at it, I'm like, oh, we could do this better, we could do this better, we could do this better. But it is a process of reflection and growth. And I'm excited that you're on this journey. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun. And for me, I think it's so beneficial for the students. I don't mind the work. I was working on just past Saturday, and my mother called, and she's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm working. I'm, doing some stuff." And she said, "Deborah, you can quit that job if you need to." Like she's gonna support me. I'm like, "Mom, you're like 80 years old." I mean, like I'm good, Mom. Thanks. I love what I do, so it's not like it's work, and I enjoy it, so it's not a bad thing. But I'm excited to move this implementation forward, and I hope you're excited about it as well. So after lunch, we're going to talk about LibreText, very specifically about the platform that we use and how you can adapt the material, the content that's already there, how you can just adopt what's already there, or if the faculty are excited about creating their own, they can also create their own on that platform.
One thing that was interesting for us during our journey is the college invited this speaker to come and speak to the faculty about OERs, and the speaker was really enthusiastic, about OERs, and for some of us that kind of sparked our interest. But, once that speaker left, and I'm kind of paraphrasing our conversation as well because it made me think about our situation, once that speaker left, there was a gap or a bridge in terms of how did we harness that excitement while the speaker was there, and what was our next step that we needed to do to move forward? Mm-hmm. Have you guys begun to think about what that next step looks like? And the teacher in me is completely okay with silence. Or I'll do when I'm in class, I'll say things like, well, how many of you are, not okay with the silence? And I'll say, how many of you are okay with the silence? And then I'll expect at some point in time, the hands will go up, right? But what do you think is next, right? So some people might get, motivation from this or excitement or, hey, we really want to do this, but we want the scale of this to be much larger. So what is it that you do at this point in time, right? So you have information, you have excitement, you have enthusiasm. What is the next step?
I think it's having contagion. So that it be contagious, whether it be SLS 1101 that I'm super excited with as they're creating the modules for the upcoming new academic year. But also you talked about student testimonials.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that I will really want to hear and encourage.
Awesome, great.
Yeah, I think that part is really important. And for your institution, that might be enough. For us, it wasn't though, but for you guys, once you have some students come up and, speak and a few motivated faculty members, that snowball for you guys might be rolling down the hill and getting bigger. For us, we had to draw some lines. We had to make some statements. We had to set some goals, We had to be very intentional because that momentum wasn't going down for us. It was really going up for us. Now it actually feels good, like Deborah mentioned. it's going down for us. So we talk about OER in a large forum, and the majority of people are like, yay, we had a bookstore rep come in about, OERs at our institution, and, just talk about new ways for inclusive access. And, you had a bunch of faculty members saying, why don't we do this? But, that wasn't right away. So you guys might be lucky enough to be able to say that, hey, once we get these champions in place and this marketing material, the tide may change. But for us, we drew out plans. We drew out, these are the roles and responsibilities. We need someone from research. We need someone from marketing. We need someone from professional development. We need someone from technology. We became very intentional about putting our steering committee together and what was expected of each member of that, and we put it in writing, and we set benchmarks. We didn't meet them all, but by having a plan, people began to work on what was the expectation of the plan. So that's kind of the approach we had to take. It might be completely different for you guys, but until we began to get people around the table and set expectations, things never moved as fast as we wanted them to move.